Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. Today we're looking at a Gunpla. This is the Blue Destiny Unit 3, and actually I can probably hook this a little further just so you can take a look. Very cool art on here, and we can see the other unit in the back there from the side story Blue Destiny. And I actually have a video of that, so if you want to like search around for that, maybe I'll find time to link it somewhere. But anyway, this is just another one-year war Gundam that comes out of the side stories that occurred during that time. There's a bunch of them, and they're really awesome. And this one looks cool too, so yeah, let's take a closer look. And before we get started, if you haven't, please subscribe. And as you're watching the video, if you think it's cool, give it a like as well. And check out the links in the description for the Discord. There's a lot of fun going on there, and the Patreon with some cool perks. So yeah, let's get started. All right, here we go with that Blue Destiny Unit 3. This is it with most of its accessories on. Different top coats, panel lining, decals, and I'll dive into the specifics. And even by the end of this, I'm going to critique what I did and point out specifics of where I can improve. But just getting a look at it, I mean, this is just a cool looking Gundam. Now it takes the design of a ground Gundam and makes it a bit, symmetrical here. It's rather, boxy compared to some other Gundams, but still very cool. This is kind of a design that's very popular, and so it's being leveraged. All right, so here is Unit 3 looking very cool. Again, that boxy look to it. The shoulders, they can move in and out, and pardon the paint on my hands. I was just painting. But yeah, these things like move in and out of the shoulders here, just for some added gimmick, I guess. Other than that, there's not too much when it comes to gimmicks on this. It has kind of a standard build you'd expect out of a GM/Gundam. Yeah, really not much to go on there. I mean, the articulation is what you would expect, where you get the full rotations on the limbs. You can get that nice spread over there. The head looks up very nice. Looks down all right as well. So, not much to really dive into when it comes to articulation. But I wanted to look at a few key parts of this. So, first of all, once I did my build, I actually put a gloss top coat. And here's some pics of it because I think it looks really good just with the gloss top coat. I can't complain. And for that, I used this Mr. Super Clear. This is my first time using a gloss top coat. And it seemed to turn out well, but I wouldn't shy away from using other brands just to see how it looks. Now, once that was done, I went back in and put the panel lines on. So I don't usually go too crazy with the panel lining, but just enough to add that detail. You can kind of see the areas where I used it, and what I used for that is this panel line accent color from Tamiya, and it's like an ink. And I have a gray, a brown, and a black. And I used the black on dark areas. I used the gray on white, and I used the brown on red. You can see that little indentation there. I used the brown. Also on the top of the head there, those little details, I used brown and the red. Everywhere else where it was like gray, or where the white is, I used gray. Now, there's some areas I probably could have improved, like the panel lining up there. And what I do is after I do the panel lining, I then wait for it to dry. Then I get the little Tamiya Q-tips, and they're actually these right here. The tops are very narrow, so I can get the detail I need. And then I get lighter fluid, dip it in there, and then I go in and clean off what I don't want. Sometimes I'll get in there a little too much, and it'll remove what I did, so I have to go back and fix it. But generally, I'm pretty happy with how it goes. So after I did the panel lining and I let that dry and I cleaned it and let that dry, I then did the decals. And so there's a number of decals on here. So for instance, on the chest here, there's a decal. Moving down on the knees, they use a decal. And then on the sides here, decals. And on the back. And then also there's some on here, but I did this before the gloss top coat, like on the eyes. And that's another thing to mention is on the sticker sheet, it does come with a red set of eyes and a red eye visor piece. That's so you can switch it out so it's in its exam mode. The problem with that, though, is there's really only one head. So once I've put it together and put the green stickers on the top on the little sensors here, That makes it much harder if you wanted to switch to the exam version because you would then have to replace these green stickers. So I'm just keeping it all green. If I did some photos, wanted to show off in exam mode, maybe I'd Photoshop it. Or if there was a way to obtain a second head, that would work. But also we can see where I did the panel lining, like on the face. I do very subtle. All right, and there's some silver that I put in there. What are some other things? I actually, used a Gundam marker EX for the silver on the thrusters. And here's that Gundam marker. And also these are stickers. This is for the color separation because of the fact that this is white and not blue. Could they have put a single white piece that can go on? I don't see why not. Instead, we have a sticker, which is fine. It worked out well. You do have to be careful. You can even see where there's a little bit of gapping because I didn't get it exactly right because it's so small. And then down here on the back, we can see where another sticker is in place. And so I did that after the gloss, and then I let that sit for a while, and then I went back with the matte. So now we can see, we saw those gloss pictures from before. Here's the matte, and I'm curious what you all think about that, if you have any tips. Came with this shield, and I went ahead and put decals on the same process, did panel lining. So that is pretty cool. Here is a gun, same process. I did the gloss, panel lining, then the matte. Here's another gun cannon it has. And then another one here with the hand still attached. Here's the other gun too, one that we're familiar with. Again, pretty fun to panel line these beam effect parts, which are great. And actually, to get to that, there's a few gimmicks here. So you can open this, and when you open this, there is the beam saber in there. But there's a few other interesting things you could do with this that they showed in the instructions, and I can show that here in a second. But you can take these pieces off and just like readjust. Now, I don't know how often I would readjust this. It's just a neat little added gimmick, but I mean, it's cool. And that's where the beam saber storage is. And then also on the backpack here, you can actually take this off. Okay, and then there's these two pieces here, and I haven't messed with this yet, so we're going to do it here for the first time. So this, you pop it off, you know how it is, you kind of throw it. And then it has this interesting little piece here that you put on the back, and that kind of changes the dynamic of the back here. And you won't be able to put it on like that because it gets in the way here. So it's more of like an option of how you want to do it. I guess this is like a little built-in backpack, I guess. And this is its main one. I don't know. Maybe for space flight, for instance. Obviously, another kind of gimmick is the ammo. We see a lot on these where you can take them off the side, put it on. This is what, goes on the gun here. And another thing is, what I was a little disappointed in was with the hands. It seemed to really only have one of the open hand here, and then not even a full closed fist, but just a holding one, and not even a trigger finger. So that's what's interesting about this whole thing. And it actually came with extra of the same open hand, but on the right side, and then just a couple other of the holding hand, not a trigger finger, not a closed fist, but a holding hand. Makes it easier to take things out and put things in, but it's a little bit less detail. I'm kind of surprised because of how much more detail this has. We normally have an issue with the waist, but the waist on this works very well. I mean, yeah, I did take it off pretty easily, but it doesn't usually just pop off from moving. Just to get a look at it, so this is the waist, plugged in, and that's a good amount, I guess. And then we take it back. That's right before it pops off, so you can feel. You can send it back, and that's a good amount back too, without it popping off. All right, so let's take a look at the manual real quick. First of all, it's just great to see the art on here, see the options when it comes to, how you want to paint it and detail it. I'm all about making it look as accurate as possible, but they have professionals that do this stuff, to make it look, non-custom and more based on the intent, the original look. And see on the back here, we got another pose, kind of a cool pose that we normally see. Here's it with the exam decals. And something else I just noticed that I might go back and do, and that would be like a follow-up pictures I'll add on Discord. So we see with the thrusters, they have red painted on the inside. In fact, thrusters were even blue. They weren't even silver. I just did that on my own. But the red, now I didn't add that in, and I could. I might do that. I mean, because that looks good, actually. Oh, and then we can see these other units. Yeah, Blue Destiny Unit 1 and 2. Those look good. I would love to have those too. Got to hunt them down. And just the typical instructions that are in here. I'd say when it came to the build, this was a very easy build. And when I say easy, it's just a very typical Gunpla build in terms of like a GM or a Gundam. There wasn't really much different from other builds. So yeah, it was a pretty good build. Okay, so I want to start critiquing my build here. A couple things that like it's hard to see, but you can kind of see remnants of a nub up here. I actually did a really good job making it hard to see nubs. I actually used this thing right here. It came with this old Gunpla kit I bought on Amazon a while back, and it actually came in handy. You just got to be careful. If you get too crazy with it, you can actually destroy the plastic. Those pictures of the gloss coat, it looked fantastic. The matte looks good, but I feel like maybe I could have put more on, but you can kind of see the look here, like at this angle with the light, you can kind of see that matte finish on there. It could be that this is fine. Curious what Gunpla builders out there think. If you can look at the sheen that this gives off, and you can let me know if there's maybe a better way I could have achieved this. How I hold the can. I take these apart. Here is the mat that I have. This is another Mr. Super Clear. And I hold it a good distance away. I guess it's hard to get the view from here. And I just kind of turn it and kind of just spray real quickly. I make sure it's kind of evenly around it. I use alligator clips with protectors on the end. And that's what I use to achieve this. So when it comes to the top coat, I feel good about it. Curious what you guys think. Now, when it comes to decals, I probably could have took my time a bit more. And one thing I noticed was they're not perfectly even, although it's really hard to notice. But just if someone was to really take a look, they would see that I could probably align them better. The thing is we have to understand with the shoulders here is they're using completely different angles on each side. It's not like straight, perpendicular, parallel, whatever you want to call it. I used the picture for reference, but I tried to get the decal in there where it still looked good, and it does. I really can't complain. But one other thing I want to add is, and this was hard to really notice at first. I'm going to see if I can try to find something. You can barely see it like here. And what I'm trying to point out is there's like little tiny dust specks, but I think it's more fibers because I made sure to get the dust off. But I don't know. I think with whatever clothes I'm wearing between here and the garage where I was doing the top coats, it could have been that some hair got in there. And I have animals here at the house, so they could get on there. I would probably bring a little duster with me. I have this little mini desk vacuum that I'd probably, like a air spray can. I'd probably take that to the unit next time before I actually spray, although that could cause a bunch of dust to creep up. So I don't know if it's inevitable that no matter what, when you do a top coat, that you're going to get some dust. So interesting if you guys have critiques on that. You can even see like with the sticker, it's very noticeable where you can tell there's a decal on here, but also the little pieces of dust. Like what's interesting is this shot makes it so much more noticeable than if you were to look up to it up close, because the way my camera is working right now, it's really detailing, kind of zooming in on that and detailing it, so I can really see the dust, the decal. Even with the panel lining, I could have cleaned that up a little better. It's just from a distance, sometimes it looks good. It gives it that kind of wash of detail. I think, if anything, the head turned out great, like that mouthpiece. But on the sides where those Vulcan cannons are, I probably could have added a little detail. I don't know, if maybe some silver or some yellow. As we go down, there's still some dust. Like, look at that. There's even like a hair right in there. So that is something that you need to watch out for that I completely botched with this. Again, it doesn't look bad far away on a shelf. You're not going to notice it. But if someone was to look up close, they could see. So what are my takeaways from this? Well, I'd say that this was a fun build, and to just go that extra mile of the panel lining, the decals, and the gloss top coat, and then the matte top coat can really finish this off to just look great. All right, so that was it. Blue Destiny Unit 3. Just an awesome Gundam design. So happy I was able to snag this off Amazon to do a build and kind of go that extra mile. Not just a standard build, but making sure I get the nubs off correctly, add a gloss top coat, do the decals, panel lining, clean up the panel lining a bit, but not go too far in the panel lining, and then add that matte finish. And I think it looks good, but I really want to hear what others say, if there's any way I can further improve the way I put this build together. And I got all this done within a day or two. I got to account for the drying. The build was relatively quick. A lot of the time was waiting on the drying. So please critique me. Let me know what you guys think of this, because I think it's just an awesome looking Gundam. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk later.